For the next part here on money, dating, sex, and success, which are real vital parts in teaching things to the children. First of all, we're going to cover the part on money. What a vital part it plays in our life. I mean, we live in a money world. Without it, you don't get by. And it's interesting. Do your children really know about the use of money, where it comes from? How do you get it? Well, most young people grow up saying, "Hey, Dad, I need a couple of bucks. I need $5 for this," and they think it comes from Dad's pocket. He puts his hand in his pocket and bring out some money, and here it is. They don't realize what it cost and everything that the parents have already done and bought. So, how do you get money? Where does it come from? What do you have to do? What are our children going to have to do when they leave home and get married and have a family and realize where money comes from? Actually, the idea that it's in your pocket and it grows on trees is a fairy tale. You sell a part of your life. You're willing to sell your life for $5, $10, $20, $30, whatever you're willing to do. If someone says, "I'll give you so much for 1 hour of your life," and so you make an agreement and you do that. You know, it's kind of interesting. I always kind of make the analogy, when the country first got started, we had slaves over here. And they brought the slaves over, and the slaves worked the field. And they did three things for those people. They gave them food, they gave them clothing, and they gave them shelter. And I've always tried to mention to people, it's not a whole lot different today. We go and sell an hour of our life or two, or for 8 hours a day, and we get so much money, and we get a little piece of paper, and what do we do with it? We buy food, clothing, and shelter, and hopefully we have a little bit left over for other things. But it's almost the same thing, you know. Way back then they did that. Well, do your children know how to get that money from work, and realize that later on, you know, right now at the present, everything is provided for them. Your dad sold so much of his life to buy your bed, to buy the blankets, to give you the food, to buy you the toys, and all of those things that are already provided. So we grow up in a society that everything is given to us, but at a point where you leave and go out on your own, do you truly comprehend what it costs to live? And you realize that in order to get what you need, you have to sell a part of your life, and realize that. Dollars per man hour is what it comes out to be. So we live in a money world. It costs for everything that's out there, you know, and you have to prepare your children how to live for that. It costs for everything. Costs for rent, costs for food, costs for clothing, costs for recreation, costs for your car, gas, electricity, insurance, all kinds of things. It just costs to live. And everybody out there wants the picture of George that's in your pocket come out of your pocket to go into their pocket. And that's the kind of system that we live in. Things have changed. Years ago, you used to work for somebody and they'd work for you, and you just changed and exchanged labor. It's not that way anymore. And so we live totally in a money world. And of course, it brings out a lot of things in Proverbs. That's why I've mentioned so many times in the earlier part, you know, learn to make right decisions. Teach the children the value and the importance of life. Life has got a lot of pitfalls in it. And we're sending our kids out there into the world totally unprepared. I mean, I've counseled a lot of young people for marriage, and one of the things I go through is money with them. And you know, they come out of college, you got a college debt, they're buying a car, so you got two college debt, two cars, and now you're going to get married and live happily ever after. It's going to be a problem. Money is the second biggest problem with divorce in America. So we don't teach our children and get them ready for the biggest step they're going to take. They're going to get married, they're going to have their own family, and they're going to, all of the other problems that creep into it. It says in Proverbs 14:23, work brings profit, talk brings poverty. So we live in a system where we're not teaching our children the value of work and being able to work. Now, you got two options in life. Now, you can either go to college and get the education and benefit your life that way, or you can learn to work with your hands, and you learn to be good at whatever you do. There's a need for electricians, plumbers, carpenters, bakers, butchers, candlestick makers, all of the above. You can do that. So you have two options in life. But whatever those options are, you got to learn to work and learn to do it right. The Proverbs 13, another good one. Wealth from gambling quickly disappears. Wealth from hard work grows. And we need to learn that. So there's several things to be able to teach your children the importance about money. And I've read a lot of books and a lot of things on money management, how to manage your money, how to budget, how to do this. And 90% of the books I've read, the first thing they bring out is give God his first. That's a principle, and most of these people, don't all go to church or things of that nature, but they realize that's a principle. You never outgive God. He's got a bigger shovel than you do, and it's easier for him to shovel it down than it is for you to shovel it up there. So, has a bigger shovel. So almost every book that I ever read said that's the first thing. So remember, you will never outgive God. Malachi 3:10 brings out a very important scripture on there. It says, prove me. God says, prove, he says, me, and see if I won't open up the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing you can't contain. That's a promise from God. I mean, his word, God doesn't just make promises just to say something. God will bless you. God will take care when we begin to teach those principles to our children as early as possible. You give them a little allowance, okay, fine. Tell them here's the thing to do. Give God his part, and learn to teach it earlier when they just get a few dollars and a few cents and a few things, because later on when they get a job, then it becomes even more. So remember, I remember when I had a youth group at church, and we had about 75 young people in there, and I'd line them all up, I'd pair them all off in groups, and I'd say, okay, we'd line up, maybe we got 6 groups of young people going out. All right, the first group, I want you to go out and find out what it costs to have a baby. I want you to go out, that's your job, go find out what it costs, and then in another week when we come back, we'll talk about it and discuss it. Everything for having a baby that there's involved with. Try to find it all. Another group was to go to mom and dad, figure out how much it costs for them to maintain their standard of living for a week. Find out, or for a month. Find that out. Another group was to go find out what it costs to buy a car. How much interest you have to pay, how much other things you have, what it's going to cost to obtain that car. And so another group would send out, you go to the store, pick out all the clothes that you think you'd like to have, mark down the price for shoes and shirts and dresses and all of those things, and sweaters, and mark it down. And we had several other things. One, what about taking a vacation? What does it cost to go on a vacation? Call up a cruise line, ask them what it would cost you for a week's vacation, the airfare to get down to where you're going to go, and all of the other expenses. Find out what it costs. A great subject, great thing to do with the kids, and help them find out those things so that they begin to know what it's going to cost. Prepare themselves. If we never plant the seeds, nothing grows. So we got to be able to plant the seeds in our young people to help them prepare for the important thing of life, because it's going to cost them to live. And as I said at the beginning, the second biggest problem in divorce is money. The first one is sex, and the second is money. And it's not taught. So our young people get out there and he's in debt and she's in debt, and I don't have any money for a beer, I don't have any money to do this. What do you do with all the money? And you blame each other for things of that nature. Find ways to teach money principles to your children. There's a lot of different ways. For example, you can take them shopping. Take them shopping. Show them what it costs for this and that, and why you buy this item and that item. Begin to teach them. If kids go shopping today, all they do is just start picking stuff off the shelf and throw it in the basket. What does it cost? Who knows? Who cares? I don't pay for it, type of thing. So it's interesting. I remember one time we had a house, and next to our house was about 6, 7, 8 acres of wood out there, forest and stuff like that. My kids had made trails all through it, and they'd ride their bikes all around in the trails. And then after one summer there, they said, "Hey, Dad, we'd like to have a mini bike." They wanted to, Dad, buy us a mini bike. I said, well, wait a minute. How do you plan on getting one? You see, in other words, there's a way we can get it. Now, you can work for it, and we can sit down, and we did. We sat down, had a plan, and we worked out several things. They come up with several ideas. One of them was that we would paint names on mailboxes for people. But first of all, we got a nice board the size of a mailbox. We had some stencils, and we'd print a name and then the numbers of the house. And then the girls, because they took part of the project too, and they would go out and show the people the kind of work that we could do and put it on your mailbox, and you decide what it's worth. We're not saying we want $10, $15. No. Let the people decide. You're there learning to work. You're learning a working principle, and they'll give you the fund. And be surprised that some may give a little bit. They don't have a whole lot. Somebody may give you more, and it'll balance out. And so they did that. And they had a good little business going on. They did real well one summer. Got enough for the mini bike, and they'd go as a group. All 6 of them would go clean up somebody's yard and mow it and clean it and rake it and weed it and whatever. Made money that way. They'd pick blackberries and sell the berries. There's a lot of different things that they did together as a group, and got enough money to buy the mini bike, and even money extra for gas. Another time it came up, and it comes up, all kinds of things come up in a family where kids need money. But the 3 girls were involved in cheerleading. Now, cheerleading is not cheap. They got to go to camp, they got to get uniforms, they got to do this. And they came to me and they said, "Dad, we each need $300 for cheerleading, for camp, and for all the other things that they need." I said, "Whoa!" I said, "You're going to have to eliminate cheerleading. We can't afford that." Well, their mom and the girls got together, and they come up with a plan, and they came and said, "Will you listen to our idea and see what we can do?" I said, "Okay, I'm willing to listen to the idea. Put it on me and see what we got." So they said, "Okay, we'd like to have the family, or you boys, build 100 cedar baskets for us." Now, I had a whole bunch of cedar that I had obtained someplace, and so they said, "Make 100 baskets. We'll help you with it. We'll help you get them all ready, and Mom and I will go out and we'll get," and they did too. I don't know how they got them from the florist, but they got a whole pickup full of flowers and greenery and stuff like that, and the dirt. And they filled up the pickup with that thing, and we made the 100 baskets. And they sold every one of them for $15 a piece. I mean, it was a family project. We all got involved. But there's things to do to show them, hey, you're not given just everything. There's certain things I'm not saying you can't give things to your children. I mean, we love that. Every parent loves to give things to his children. But look at the lessons you can teach about money. We live in a money world. And you want them to understand this, that it takes sometimes work, and teach them the value of working for it. We had what we called a little money-making fund. And every bit of money that they made, they'd always put 10 or 12% of it in this money-making fund, so when something else came up they needed to do to buy gas to go do something to make it, we had this money-making fund. And it was really a profitable thing for us to do that. So teach your children to work for what they want and what they'd like to have. There are certain things we can give them, but hey, work for it. You know, my son taught it at a college for years, and he said he could tell immediately those who paid for their own college and those who did not. They didn't take advantage of it. It was free. It was given to them. Those that worked for it, they studied because they felt, man, I worked for this thing. I want to get everything I can out of it. And they did. He said he could tell the difference right away, those that were given everything. And that sometimes that can destroy children. Teach the value of budget. It's important to be able to teach the budgeting item. I have a paper here that it's called the monthly income and expenses. Now you can go to any bank around and tell them you want a monthly chart of income and expenses you want to buy a house, and they'll give you this chart. And it's really a wonderful thing because you can take your kids and you can use it as a study map and go down the line. For example, it says, here's your salary, here's how much you get, here's how much you need, and all of that. And then the first thing on to the list, and this is one from a bank, is tithe. They even realize the importance of paying tithe first, to set it aside. If you make $1, you give 1/10 to God, or help somebody else with it. There's a lot of different ways to use that funds to be able to help somebody. So those are important elements to be able to teach and to learn. Net spending income. What does it cost? You know, like I said, we sent the kids out, and it was an eye-opener for those young kids when they found out how much it costs for them to be able to have a baby, get a car, and take a trip and all the other stuff, and how much money you had to have. How much you're willing to sell your life for? How much is it worth? How much do you need? How are you going to prepare yourself to be able to earn what you need to have to survive? And it's important. We live in a money world. You know, you just don't get by without it. So it's important. So you got housing, mortgage, insurance, taxes, electricity, gas, water, you know, sanitation, telephone, maintenance, all of these things that creep in that young people don't think about. You know, you get married, and then you've got what? Well, the wife's got to have her hair fixed. She's got to have this. She's got to have clothes. She's got to have all the other things, and you know, all the makeup and the things that go with that, and that all costs. Where's it going to come from? What if you don't have money enough for it? What begins to become irritable then within the relationship? So teach them the importance of money. Budgeting is a vital part. And as I say, get a budget. Have your children keep track. For example, if you give them a little bit of money for school, have them keep track of everything they spend per month. Write it down. How much does it cost just to do this? Give them that much. And say, well, here it is. I can give you that much. And then if they run out of money, they run out of money. Why? You want to teach the budgeting principle. You save and learn to realize you live in a money world. It doesn't all come from Dad's pocket. He had to sell his life to be able to get you the things that you needed to do. So teach the importance of budget, because it always does. You got lunch money, school supplies, school activities, movies, snacks. There's always something that needs your money. Nobody does it for free anymore, you know. Don't buy that old deal, it's free. It's going to cost you somewhere down the road. Type of budgeting that works for a child who simply receives a weekly budget, or maybe your child is a teenager and starts working, got a little bit of a job, and is making a little bit of money in funds. We'll be able to teach them how to budget that. Not just, hey, I got money so I can spend it. What happens when you get married? What happens when you're not teaching and training them, looking down the road to get your child ready for life? Train up a child in the way that it should go. And when it's old, it won't depart from it. Learn the principles that God gives to us out of His Word. Train them, teach them. What does God want? I want godly children. Well, how do you avoid the pitfalls and the heartache? By teaching them. So parents need to educate themselves. You can't teach what you don't know. And that's an important part. So, and other things that you've got. Eating out, babysitters, activities, tips, activity. After you get married, then all the other people are getting married, and they have baby showers, and they have this, and all of that, $5, $10, $20 at a time, all comes out of it. They bought you gifts, and so you buy them gifts. That's the way it goes. Medical expenses, miscellaneous, like toiletry, beauty, barber, haircuts, laundry. All of those things are on this budget. Great teaching tool. Get one, sit down with your children, help them understand the importance of budgeting, and realize, hey, we live in a money world. Somewhere down the road, you're going to have to sell your life 8 hours a day for so much money. Can you live with that? Can you live within that? And begin to realize the importance of that. So, anyhow, help them understand the importance of that. Not wrong to give your children things. I'm not saying that at all. We all love to give our children. We like to give them all kinds of things. But sometimes we give them so much we destroy them. We're not teaching them. We're not helping them. And I know several cases where that has happened and things of that nature. So teach the children what it costs for recreation. What does it cost what if you want to go skiing today? And you've got your wife and you. Now, it used to be just much for you, but now you got a wife. Maybe you got a child or two that want to learn to ski. Begin to realize what it costs for recreation. Skiing's not cheap. Don't cost 50 cents or $1. You got to get your skis, you got to get up there, you got to get your lift ticket, you've got to eat while you're up there. You can go through $100, $200 just like that. Where's that coming from? Where'd you get that? Put it on a credit card? You want to be very careful of putting things on a credit card. So teach your children what it costs for recreation. Seeing movies, ball games, skiing, a million things that young kids want to do and enjoy. So find that. We used to do a lot of hiking in the mountains, the whole family. And we just had a lot of fun getting up there, sitting around the campfire and talking and enjoying things. Didn't cost us a lot. We had to look for things that didn't cost a lot with all the children and everything, but we always had plenty. And we had a lot of fun. You've got to show children God's way is fun. It is a fun way to live when you understand the right principles that God gives to us. And that's our job, to be able to teach that to the kids in every way. Teach them the value of saving account. I've often wondered, how much would I have had today if I saved 10 cents? Now, that's a little meager amount, but save 10 cents of every dollar I ever made. Where would I be today? I wouldn't care about Social Security. But we piddle it all away. We live up to the maximum amount of our income. Whatever we make, that's what we spend, you see. And then at the end of the month, well, I guess, hopefully, we didn't go in debt. You can make a lot of money and drive a Cadillac. You can make a little bit of money and drive a Ford or a Chevy or whatever smaller car there is, depending. We live right up to the maximum amount of our income, and we don't prepare ourselves for later on. You got to think about that. Teach them the value of a saving account. Save for marriage. Boy, I tell that's one thing that I used to counsel the kids, as I said, about money. And I'd talk to them, how much have you set aside for marriage, for your honeymoon and this and that? Well, Mom and Dad are going to pay for that? Are they? Maybe they will. I told my girls I'd do 3 things for them. First of all, I'd walk them down the aisle. I'd make their wedding cake because I'd been a baker for years, so I did that. And I'd perform the ceremony. The rest of the expense was theirs. I did those three things, and they did the rest. And but I taught them that early, so they knew when that time came that they would be ready to provide that. But I always told them, you have at least, way back then it was $3,000. You probably need more today. You can spend thousands of dollars on a big fancy wedding. You can do that. Who's going to pay for that? Well, most of the time it's mom or dad that are given there. But save for marriage. Boy, if I had $3,000 and my wife had $3,000, we got married. Wow, what a deal that would have been. That'd have been great. But no, today she's buying a car, you're buying a car. She's got a college debt, you've got a college debt in a lot of cases. And so you're already in deep trouble. But young people don't really realize what it costs to live. I like Ecclesiastes 5:10, which says, "He who loves money shall never have enough. The foolishness of thinking that wealth brings happiness." It doesn't bring happiness. You know what brings happiness? Following God's way of life, applying His principles in our life, and understanding where the pitfalls are in life so we don't fall in them. We don't fall in them. And it's important. You can't buy happiness, and true happiness truly comes from obeying God's commandments, His statutes, His laws, His principles that He gives to us in His Word. He doesn't want His kids to be miserable. He wants all of us to be happy and to enjoy life. That's why He put us here. He didn't put Adam and Eve down at a garbage dump. He put Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, had everything they needed. He provided everything for them. They didn't even have banks. They didn't even have money. They didn't need it. God gave them everything they needed. And He'll take care of you too when you understand His principles. And we as parents need to teach our children the value of that. Another good one in Ecclesiastes 5:11. The more you have, the more you spend, right up to the limits of your income. So what is the advantage of your wealth except to watch it as it runs through your fingers? A lot of wisdom there, you know. We get the money and watch it as somebody wants tax money for this, or they want money for that, and they want money for this and this and this, and it's gone. And you watch it as it runs through your fingers because of what you sold 8 hours of your life to receive this paper. The real happiness comes from obeying God. So get that. I always used to tell my kids, you got by without it today. You can get by without it tomorrow. Doesn't mean you can't have it, but prepare yourself to buy it and save up enough to get it and then buy it. And then you can get it. It's so easy. Pay now or buy now and pay later. And pretty soon, you got a lot of pay laters that you just can't keep up with all of it. That's what they want. They don't care about you. This system doesn't care one bit about your children. If they can follow them up and get all their money, they're going to do it. One of the biggest problems is greed. That's created more trouble in this world than anything. And greed. What people won't do for money. They'll kill for it. They'll rob for it. They'll steal for it. They'll cheat for it. They'll do anything to get it. And it doesn't give them any happiness. It gives them some jail time if they get caught. But it doesn't give them any happiness. Happiness comes from obeying God and teaching our children those principles. If you don't plant the seeds, it won't grow. But Satan is out there planting the tares every day, like I talked about in the earlier conversation there. He's planting every day. What's going to grow? If you don't plant, nothing good will grow. That's up to you, Mom, Dad. You've got to teach those principles. So, credit cards, hey, a credit card's a great little thing to have. You can have it, and you can buy things right there. You don't have to carry cash all the time. But when that bill comes in, the card is paid. I have never given the credit companies a dime in over or late payments. Never have and never will. Why should I give them that? Boy, 17% interest on some of that stuff? I mean, it's ridiculous. My wife and I were at the grocery store, and then we were behind a lady, and she's going to charge her groceries, and she had 4 or 5 cards, and they were all full. They were all full. She couldn't get any more. She had to get and pay with something else. She said, I'm going to have to get me another credit card. All that does is put you deeper in debt, and you've got more problems. Buy now, pay later. That's exactly what this system wants. You know how to balance a checkbook. Teach them that early. Your statement comes in, have the kids sit down and say, hey, let me show you how to balance this so that you learn how to do it. Do that. Will your children marry in debt? Head over heels in debt? Because they can buy all kinds of stuff with a credit card. Will they do that? Don't live off of 2 incomes. This is a principle I've tried to teach at summer camp when I was talking to older teenagers. Don't live off 2 incomes. Now, we live in a 2-income society. I mean, because it costs so much to live that it's very difficult for one person to make enough funds and money. I know that. I'm well aware of that. But when my wife and I, first wife, got married, she didn't work. She stayed home, took care of the home, took care of the kids, did that part. When they grew up, then she did work. And although one time before the kids were there, we wanted to buy a house, and we needed $500 down payment, which we didn't have. So I got a part-time job, and she got another job at the fish cannery, and we made the $500 to buy the house. But then she stayed home to work the house, to take care of it, and we lived off of the 1 income. But we have built up so much debt and so many things to buy today in the world that it takes 2 people to work. But you realize that most of the money goes out to something else that the wife works. She's got to have special clothes. She's got to have her hair fixed. She's got to done this. You got to get a babysitter. You got to do all these other things. And then someone else is raising your children. Do they have the same love for your children that you do? Do they teach them the value of life and how to live? Do they teach them the important things that they need to know about God and what He wants them to learn and how to train and teach and educate the children? Nobody cares for your children like you do. Nobody. I love working with kids, and I've worked with a lot of them at camp, and I've always enjoyed kids, but they weren't mine. I mean, you can still have care for them and love them, but mine were different, and they just are. So realize that. Get the good books you can to educate yourself. There's a lot of good books out there for educating about money principles. Educate yourself so you can teach and educate your children so they don't make the same mistakes you made. I mean, you want them to fall into the pitfalls are still there. And unless you educate the children, they're going to do exactly the same thing. So the pitfalls are there. Be very careful about that. Now, the other important subject that I want to discuss a little bit is about dating. This is one of the biggest worries a parent has in what's going to happen when my kids start dating. The dad worries sick about, boy, what's this guy going to do? He's going out with my daughter. Woe is me. Did you teach her how to handle problems? Did you teach her what to look for and all of the things that needed in dating? Did you prepare them for it? You're not going to prepare them at 18. I can say, well, let me tell you all about dating here. That's too late. See, you want to plant the seeds, and the seeds take a little time to grow. You put that seed in the ground, you don't pick the fruit tomorrow or the vegetables tomorrow. It takes time to grow and develop. And in between times, you got to weed out all the weeds that are in the garden, and you got to weed out all the things that are in the kids' mind and be able to help them understand the importance of dating. They're going to date whether you like it or not, and you're not going to be there. You're not going to be there. Let me ask you a question. When was the first time that you liked someone of the opposite sex? 3rd grade? 4th grade? or fifth grade. When was it? Oh man, I saw this girl today. Oh wow, he is great and wonderful. Or you saw that boy. Oh man, you understand that, Mom, Dad. You went through it. You did it. Teach the kids what's happening to, what's going on, and what's taking place. So when our children were growing up, we always taught the boys, take care of your sister. Why? I always told them, don't you ever fight with your sister. Your job is to take care of her. I don't care what happens to you. You look after your sister. Why? Because someday they're going to go out with a girl. And someday they're going to marry a girl. And it's going to be his wife. And he's never been taught how to take care of a girl, how to look after a girl, how to protect the girl, how to love the girl. Do you think if all those principles that God gave to us in his word was applied to our earlier life in marriage, that there'd be the big divorces there are today? There wouldn't be. You got to teach them that. Teach them to take care of their sister. Well, I told them, I don't care what happens to you, you take care of your sister. Because I knew they were going to go out with a girl, and I knew they were going to get married and have a wife. And he wanted them to learn the value of taking care of each other and learn that. So do that. Dating is as much a part of a young person's life as eating and sleeping. And they eat and sleep a lot. And so dating's going to be there. And you're not going to be there. You're not going to be with them. You don't see the activities at the school and the other places where they are. But they're going to date. They're going to have feelings towards somebody else. That's just natural. That's just it. But there are pitfalls along the way in doing that. And we haven't educated our children one bit along that way. In other words, they're going to date whether you have taught them that or not. So here we send them out, and they've got feelings, they've got needs, and we'll cover that a little bit later. Think what dating was like when you were young. And it's changed a lot since then. Girls are much more aggressive today. I think we've lost a lot of teaching on femininity, how to be a woman, how to apply the principles in Proverbs 31, a real virtuous person, one that's not afraid to work and take care of the family, look after the things that are there. It's important. Let me explain a little bit of what my dating principles were and what I taught every chance I got. I used to teach the group date concept, where you have a group of young people together and they date and they get to know different people. You see one, you say, oh, I think this is great. Well, how do you know it's not a Cadillac or a Ford? How do you know it when a Cadillac comes along? One that's even better. And so you got a group date concept. So you can teach the kid the value of seeing different people in different situations and be able to help them with that. We used to have the group date. We'd had the kids, and we'd let each one invite. For the girls, they can invite a boy, and if it was the boys, they can invite a girl. Come over for a formal dinner. Formal. They all dressed up. No holy jeans or things of that nature. You dressed up. You look sharp. The boys went over and picked up the girls and got them all picked up, brought them over to the house, and Nancy and I would have a nice formal dinner for them. Teach them a little of the etiquette, teach them some of the values of being a gentleman and how to be a lady from that point. And it was very profitable. Afterwards, after the dinner was done, we'd go downstairs and we would teach dancing, or we'd teach how to ask a girl to dance and things. You just don't go up and grab somebody. Hey, babe, you want to dance? There's a right way. Respect the other person. We've lost some of that. I'm not saying we can't regain it, but it's lost, and it's a tragedy. So we taught a lot of those things, and that was important. We taught square dancing. They used to love that. I always like to tell 3 stories with a tongue-in-cheek type of thing here, which was passed on to young people today through technology that I think is a disaster, is a tragedy. In tongue-in-cheek, I hope you understand that part. One of them is the automatic transmission The other is bucket seats. And the third one is dancing. Now let me explain to you for a minute. The old cars that we used to have had a gear shift right in the middle of the car. On a big handle, on the big floor shift, and you'd shift her down, you'd have to get it right down there, and high gear was right down there. Now, when you pick and have some girls with you in the car, the girls don't sit in the back seat. The girls always want the middle seat. If there's a couple of couples in there, say you got 2 boys and 2 girls, the 2 girls will be in the middle of the back and middle of the front. So they said you got 2 guys on both sides. At 99% of the time, that's the way it was. All right, so you got this gear shift, right? So you're shifting gears, and when you shifted down to high gear, your hand was right there. And you just let go of the knob, and you had your hand right on the girl's knee. Whoever designed that was a genius, right? Then they got the automatic transmission, and now all you do is just drive the car. All the benefit gone. Bucket seats. Bucket seat. Girl sits over there by the window, and you're way over here. She'd probably freezing to death. Bucket seat. They were always able to come there. Why do guys like to have a pickup with bench seats? Because the girl always slides over to the middle. It's automatic. Have you ever seen it? What did you do, Mom? What did you do, Dad? Let's wake up. Realize life is real. It hasn't changed that much. The same concept and thinking is there. And dancing is the third one. When we danced with the girls, we would dance the polka or the shotty. We had our hands on them, They dance today. He stands over here shaking all over. She stands over here shaking all over, and they can't even touch each other. Crazy. But you begin to see the different concept. That's why I always like to mention this is my 3-theory concept of what technology has done in wrecking dating for young people. But nevertheless, you got to teach the advantage of the balance. Realize what happened when you were young. Realize what happened when you started dating. You like somebody. Did you know him? I didn't know him well, but I liked him. That's real. And it's not any different with your kid than it was with ours. I think it was the 3rd grade when I first saw somebody. Oh man, this is great. Look at her, boy. Would I like to go out with her? 3rd grade, say. So you learn those principles. So get with. We got small group dates is the next concept, where you have smaller groups together. And you can get with other parents. Do other things like that. Have dinners together. Teach them that. A barbecue in the backyard. A campfire at somebody who's got some property. You sit around, you're able to have some songs and talk and have some fun with young people without having to go out someplace alone. You want to be very careful of single dating. That can really, unless you're ready for those things, it can really be difficult. Teach your daughter what to look for. Teach them, what are you looking for? What are guys looking for? 36, 26, 36? Can she cook? Who cares? Type of thing. What are you looking for? I've always tried to tell my class when I gave those classes for a long time, if a girl's not beautiful at 16, it's not her fault. But if she is not beautiful at 25, that is her fault. Because the real beauty comes from within. Comes from down here, from the heart, from the outgoing concern. A real beautiful person that can take care of other people, that knows how to be warm and gentle and considerate and loving. And you want to be able to teach those things. Teach your daughter, what are you looking for? I always told my girls, if he is not a gentleman in dating, he never will be in marriage. You want a gentleman, or you just want some guy? Stop. Think. Don't date with your heart. What does God say? The heart is deceitful and desperately wicked. And we all got one. It's there. See? So you want to date with your mind. Use your noodle. Think about things. That's why, remember back here in the class we gave about decisions. How important to make right decisions. Be able to think of the end result. You show them little things where they're little at home, And now they're getting up to where the bigger things are happening in their life. They're going to go out with someone of the opposite sex. What happens? Wait, some guy may put his hand on your knee. How do you gracefully tell him, hey, I really appreciate you not doing that? You don't have to yell, scream, and holler, and, you hit him and everything else. Hey, tell him, hey, if we ever get married, you'll have more than you can handle back then. But right now, this is what I would like. We can be friends. We can have fun. We can enjoy life. But we're not ready for that part yet. Do we ever tell them that? Were you ever taught that? No. We just went along with what happened. Mom, Dad, use your noodle. Realize what you went through, what it was like. Tell your kids and get them ready for that. So, yeah, tell them that. Real beauty, as I said before, comes from within. That's what you look for. That's what you need. Single dating, show what can happen on a single date. Remember, the body is never satisfied with yesterday's excitement. You hold her hand today. What do you want to hold tomorrow? Put your arm around her tomorrow. Pretty soon your hand is on her breast. Those are things that happen. They're real. How do you teach your children to handle that? How to cope with those things? If not, I've often said, the right time, the right place, the right situation, there is not one of God's laws we can't break. And fornication is one of them. It's easy. It's not difficult. Especially today. Nowadays, people live together. Why not? Well, can't afford to live by myself. I need somebody else to help pay for this and that. And the whole marriage concept, what God intended two people to do, is destroyed. You will never forget somebody you went to bed with. You won't. You got to teach those things. Learn to date with your mind, not your heart. As I said, Jeremiah 17. The heart's deceitful and desperately wicked. Going steady. How many say, oh man, we're going steady, that's my girlfriend, and we're going to go steady. That is a dangerous pitfall. It is. Not satisfied with yesterday's excitement. Been going together for a couple of months, and what happens? What takes place? What's the next event? Stop and think. We haven't taught our children how to handle that. I told my girl that you don't go steady with anyone until he wants to put a ring on your finger. Then you can go steady. But then that's a difficult time. I've always tried to encourage kids, don't make big, long engagements. Why? Because it's difficult. It's not easy. It's going to be hard. There's pitfalls along the way. You want to do it right? You want to do it the way God says the real happiness comes from? Got to teach your children what can happen. Going steady is a dangerous pitfall. I told and taught and given the right time, the right place, the right situation, you could commit fornication. It's easy. It's not difficult. It's not difficult. You like to be held? You like the attention? You like the affection? Absolutely. Absolutely. It never leaves. I'll cover that in a little bit. God brings out in Proverbs 6:20 a real interesting thing. You may show the children the value of this. Young men, obey your father and your mother. Tie their instructions around your finger. Tie their instructions. Have we given them instructions? Have we taught them the value and what it's like to date and how to take care of girls and how to react in certain situations that can happen? Because they're going to happen. They happen to you somewhere down the line. And around your finger. So you won't forget. Take and learn all their advice every day and all night long. Their counsel will lead you and save you from all kinds of problems. If you teach them, it will. If you don't teach them, it won't. They'll just go on, and life is natural, and you'll fall into the same ditch that a lot of us fell into because we haven't taught them. God wants godly children, And that's our fault if we haven't done it. We need to take time. Satan gets us so busy living, as I said, we don't have time for the living. We got to take the time. We got to educate ourselves so that we can educate the children. Look what's happening around you. What God says, watch. Watch the news. Look what's going on. Don't be like an ostrich with our head in the sand. I tell you, I'm glad I don't go to school today. I'm glad I wasn't out there as a teenager going the way people act and the way girls are and the way guys are. I'm glad I didn't go then. Anyway, it'll save you, as it says, warn you from the dangers and give you the good life. Listen to them. They love you. They want to. Doesn't God love his kids? He loves every one of us. That's why he gives us the instruction of how to live and what to do and how to take care of each other and show that respect to each other. And girls, and take care of girls. Girls aren't toys. When we went to school, we were taught girls are toys. And you play with them. When you're done playing with your toys, you put them around and you find some other toys. That's the way a lot of us grew up. That's wrong. That wasn't what God intended. But who taught it? Who taught us? We just went out and lived, and those were the things that happened. So to warn them about the pitfalls, talk to the children every step they take. Help them, and take care of them. Remember 1 Peter 5:8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, is seeking whom he may devour. And your kids are the ones he wants to eat up. He doesn't want any of those kids to be potential gods in God's kingdom. That's what God wants. He wants them in the kingdom. Satan wants to kill them all and destroy everyone he can. You know? Just like on the news the other day, what was it? Some 7-year-old kid attacked a teacher and beat her up, and the parents and the police hauled him away in handcuffs. And now the parents are all upset because the police took him away in handcuffs. You know? Parents, what's that kid going to be like at 17? You want that one to date your daughter? Be your son-in-law? Things of that. And that's just a minor. They're all over the case. School shootings all the time. We're growing up in some different societies. So think of those things. Satan wants to destroy and eat up your children. And he will if we don't do our part in showing the pitfalls that Satan is throwing out there. It's a battle. It's not easy being a parent. Like I said before, one of the greatest jobs in the world are given to those with the least education on how to do it. Us. You know, we got to learn that. Don't forget the needs of your children. Now, here's an important thing to remember. Girls enjoy attention. They enjoy and like and need affection. That's part of their group. Even when they're little girls, come up and jump in Dad's lap. I want that affection. And Mom and Dad give them a kiss at night, tuck them to bed, put them down. They need that. That's when they're, and it never leaves. I don't care how old they get, it never leaves. They like to be held. That's part of their human, that's nature. They like that, to be held. They feel comfortable, they feel protected. They like to hold hands, and they like to be held. Those are important. They like to be noticed, which is a pitfall because of the way they dress. You know, I told my girls, if you're not in the business, don't advertise. And that's what's happening. I mean, Satan don't care. He wants them to advertise. I used to tell the girls when I give these classes on dating, you could be committing adultery by the way you conduct yourself and dress. Because somebody's looking at you with the wrong thoughts and the wrong ideas. And it's important to think about that. Dress is important. I'm not saying you look like an old maid. Look sharp. Be sharp. Those are important things. You like and need to be loved. Never leaves you. That never leaves. That's something that a woman needs as her entire life. I don't care how old they get. They need to be loved. And God, what is God's principle? Show love. Have that real love, outgoing concern. I always told my kids that anything outside of marriage is just sex. It is. Sex is sex and love is love. They're two different elements in life. They don't say, I love somebody. Do you really? If you love somebody, you'll take care of somebody, not just use somebody. So love is a very important element to apply the way God intended it to be implied. They're important. Think about those things in dating. I mean, you went there, Mom. You were there, Dad. And now you're going to send your kids out with the same education you had and the same learning. We didn't understand about God's principles back then. Now we should have a chance. We do. And now we can apply them and begin to teach and help. Like I said, attention. It's a problem that they will do just about anything to get the kind of attention they start when they're very little and young. They cry. Why? I want attention. I want milk. I want this. I want that. I want food. And they want attention right from the very beginning. I'll come, and little kids used to come up and tug on your pant leg, They needed attention. They wanted to talk to you about something. Too many times we tell them, get aside, kid, I'm busy. I never did that. And kids would come up and tug on my pant leg. I'd say, just a minute, what can I do for you? Talk to the young person. It's important to them. Then you can begin to teach and educate. Wait till someone is done talking. You can begin to teach and help later on. You don't have to yell and scream and holler. What does God say? A soft answer turns away wrath. How nice is it when you make a mistake and someone at least says, hey, I understand. Let's see if we can work it out together. Why yell and scream and holler and get mad and all bent out of shape? You do that, you lose. For example, attention. She may be out on a single date and her boyfriend gives her the wrong kind of attention. Now what? Hey, it's simple. Teach him the value. Teach him of the pitfalls that are there. Boy, I tell you, there's enough of them in dating. Teach how to handle this need in real life. Help her through it. This is how you tell somebody. You can be gentle enough to say, hey, I'm saving myself for marriage, and hey, if that's all that you're looking for, maybe you better find somebody else. Hey, simple. You don't have to, scream and yell and holler. Just tell them that. Now, if it gets a little out of hand, then you may have to do something. Hopefully you don't date those kind of people. So know that you don't put yourself in that situation. That's where making the right decision comes into play. Know the person first. Find out about it. I used to tell my boys, hey, one of the girls is going to date this guy. What's he like? And the boys come say, I don't think it's a good idea if she goes out with him. This guy has this reputation. He does that, and that, or whatever it would be. They looked after him, and I would tell her, can't go. In fact, I used to tell my girls that if the boy does not come up to the door to meet me and ask me to take you out, and he's honking his horn out front, you ain't going. Don't go. If you do, if you go out, I remember I thought their mother was going to have a cow. But anyhow, I said, if you go out that door, take your coat with you because you're not coming back. And, but she didn't. She stayed. And, a sigh of relief was there. But when you give orders, know that you can back it up. Don't give a punishment, as we talked about before, more than what is the crime. You can talk to them. They know you mean what you say. And then back it up with the right thing. So, teach how to handle all kinds of situations. He's going to put his arm around you, and he's going to hold something. It's automatic. It's there. You went through it. You don't think your kids would? And we sent them out there with not the knowledge. We didn't have the knowledge. We did what felt good and what was right in our own eyes. And God said that when we follow our own way, it only leads to destruction and disaster. Affection. This is a vital part of a girl's life, and it never leaves her, no matter how old she gets. It doesn't. And if men could understand that principle, they would take care of their wife and realize the affection and the attention she needs for her whole life. And if it's there, you never have to worry about a thing. You got to beat her off with a stick. You know, she's always, because that's designed within her to love her husband. That's the way God created it. He created the woman to be able to fulfill, what did he say? Adam had a big void. He had an absolute need. And he made the wife to fulfill that need. But then the man has to know how to take care of that need. And we have never been taught that either. And that's important. Teach it to your kids. Teach it to your boys. Teach them that. And they're vital. Girls like and need to be held. It never leaves. I mean, they love to be hugged. They love to be held. That's part of their nature that's there. But we have to learn how to do it in the right way, not just necessarily in dating. You know, it's important. So they like to be held. Girls never seem to come to the point in their lives where they stop wanting to be held or hugged. Hug them every day. Hug your wife every day, every night, and tell her you love her. And show it. You can say it. I love you. Oh, guys have said a lot of that, but for other reasons. I love you. Well, if you loved me, you'd do this and this and that. No, that's not love. That's sex. They're two different elements. You like to be noticed. This is a dangerous element for ladies, for girls. Dangerous. And, you know, like I said just a minute ago, that I used to tell the kids at summer camp the same thing. And I told my girls the same thing. If you're not in the business, don't advertise. Dad, tell them what boys are thinking when they see them dressed like that. When you go down to the beach and you go out there, what are they advertising? You know, it's a crime. It's not easy to go down there and not have the wrong thoughts. Satan knows that. Satan knows that. You go down there and you see them dressed like that, what are you thinking? As a young boy, I can tell you what they're thinking. I'll tell you what I was thinking and what they were thinking. And we haven't taught them how to dress right. When I had summer camp, I always used to kid the girls. You can have one-piece bathing suit, top or bottom, but preferably sewed together. And that's what I told them. I said, I didn't want the boys walking off the dock and drowning themselves in the lake or wherever. Now, these are young kids, 6 through 12. But nevertheless, you got to start planting the seed somewhere. You see little teeny girls today with nothing on. 2 Band-Aids and a piece of gauze, and that covers everything up. And what are you teaching them? You're teaching them how to look, how to dress. Everybody will look at, oh, yes, they will. No question about it. They will look, and they will do that. So it's important. You know, boys think, and what they think, Dad, that's your job. Tell the girls what boys are thinking. Mom, tell the girls, or tell the boys what the girls are thinking and what they want. You know, God talks a lot about it in Proverbs. The whole thing is, be careful. Watch out for the girl that'll come up and give you a big hug and a big kiss and said, I love you. Come on over to my house. I got the nice new sheets. They're all perfumed. My husband's gone for a while. He took a lot of money, and he won't be home for a while. And like I used to tell in the class, when you meet somebody you like and he kisses you, how does it taste? How was it? Did you want a second? A third? And look hey, this is life. And we're not telling them about life. We're not telling them what it really entails. So realize those things. You got a job, Mom, Dad. Help your kids. Don't send them out there without the education and the help that they need to get through the difficult things. A girl likes and needs to be loved. They do. There's no place in the Bible that tells the wife to love her husband. Not one. But there is where God says, husbands, love your wife the way I love the church and gave my life for it. that way? We have that kind of a love for them to be able to take care of them and realize it's the greatest possession God could give to us? It's more valuable than our fishing pole, than my shotgun, than my car? Yes, it is. It's the most valuable thing that God could give you because it can give you the most pleasure, the most help, the most guidance, the most wisdom, and all of those elements that it can give to you. So be careful. This is strong pulls. You want to be loved by someone, not just anyone. You want someone. That's just natural. Sure you do. But you want the right one. Know what to look for. Remember that sex is sex and love is love. They're two different elements. And sex is not a binding element. It has never bound two people together. The only thing that binds two people together is real love and God's Christian love that God gives to us. Real love that He teaches us to be able to do that. So that's why going steady is a pretty dangerous situation. Help them how to understand that. Sure, she likes somebody. You did. And realize that. Proverbs 5. I'd like to read that one to you just for a second. Proverbs 5. Put my eye focusing glasses there. And it says, "Listen to me, my son. I know what I am saying. Listen. Watch yourself, lest you discreet and betray some of the vital information. For the lips of a prostitute are sweet as honey, smooth flattery as her stock in trade. But afterwards, only bitter conscience is left to you. A sharp, double-edged sword. She leads you down the path to hell, and she does not know the path to life. She staggers down the crooked trail and doesn't even realize where it leads." You know, the whole thing in Proverbs is a good thing to teach your children, to talk to them about. Doesn't mean that every girl is a prostitute. Doesn't mean that, but there are some out there that are in the business, and there are others that are not. They're just there because they love you, they want affection, they want attention, they want to be noticed. And then in verse, I like 15, don't drink from your own well, my son. You know, different language, but it said, hey, have sex with your wife, the one that you love, the one that you really care for, and you show that. Be faithful and true to your wife. Why should you beget children with women of the street? How many homes are broken up today? How many homes are the, one-parent family? Now, my son teaches at a high school up here now. He did teach college, but he's up there. Over half, he says, of my class are single-parent families. What a tragedy. Half in his class. Who knows how many it is all over the place. It's a tragedy to realize that. So watch your step. Be on guard. Tell your child, listen to those things. Be aware. Watch what's happening around you. Easy to slip into it. It's not hard. It's the easiest thing in the world. They'll help them understand that. Read Proverbs often to your children. We used to do that every Friday night. We'd sit on the floor and talk about what happened at school today. One of them daughters said, well, I was offered a cigarette. Well, did you take it? Well, yeah, I did. I said this and that and try it. I said, hey, you've got to learn this principle. You make the decision, you live with it. Now, if they apply the same principle to drugs and to sex, try it. You'll like it. Then now what? See? So you have to learn how to handle, and you have to tell them, hey, I'd rather not take that. I don't want to wreck my health, but thanks for the offer. But I don't want to do it. You're the one that has to make up the mind. But we got to teach our kids that important step of how to do it, how to make up their mind. And read that. Read Proverbs. You see, love is different than sex, as I said. And that's what all young people need to learn. They all need to be and want to be loved. But true love needs to be developed. Takes time to develop that. And you don't learn it just saying, ooh, I like you. I like you. We'll live happily ever after. Fairy tale. That's a fairy tale. It's not true. Unless you apply God's principle, you're going to stumble and be in a lot of pitfalls. So Proverbs 5, girls play at sex because they want and need love. Boys play at love because they want sex. What a deadly combination when it comes together. You see, those things are real. And if we're honest with our kids and talk to our kids about it, we can talk to them about it. Often we hear the story, the dad's going to talk to the little boy about sex, and the little boy says, well, what do you want to know, Dad? We're almost to that point. No, tell them the real facts about it. Tell them what it's for, why God designed it this way. Tell them the advantage of doing it right. Many of us didn't, but don't let it happen to our kids. So Mom, Dad, so important for you to set the right example in a good marriage relationship. You hug the wife, you love her to pieces, you don't yell and scream and holler at her. What for? God says soft answer turns away wrath. Anger causes mistakes, and you say something you shouldn't say. And then the kid sees Mom and Dad arguing, and he begins to think, how long is it going to be before I only have one mom or one dad? They're going to separate. The kids talk about that at school all the time. And you're going to set that kind of example. Show the right way, how to live. You should apply God's principles. You know them. God takes time to teach us. Let's not be stiff-necked and hard-headed like Israel was. Let's learn. Let's learn from our mistakes and draw close to God. Ask God for wisdom. Give me the wisdom and the help I need, God, to guide, direct, and love my children the way you want me to. And I guarantee you, if you ask God for it, he'll give it to you. He gives you the things that you need along that line. Our kids need the instructions, the guidance, so they're going to be able to overcome all the problems and pitfalls that are ahead of them in life. Man, oh man, just stop and think. Look at the society. Would you like to grow up as a teenager today, as a kid, where you can't, we used to walk to school. You probably used to walk to school, some of the older people. You never had a school bus. You walked to school. You went to the playground and played in the playground. You can't let your kids go here, there, or anywhere all by themselves anymore. Some pervert out there going to pick them up. It's different. It's changing. Got to tell our kids the pitfalls, boy. Help them, educate them, guide them. There's some good books out there. Educate yourself. There's a good one called The Stork is Dead. Great book for girls. The stork is dead. You don't get pregnant by the stork. He comes right. It's a good book because he speaks in plain language and shows you what happened and what can take place. It's real, and it's done in a great manner. Charlie Shedd, The Stork is Dead. Good book. Another good book that's very good for parents to help you understand how to teach it, how to discuss things with your children, and that's Intended for Pleasure by Charlie Shedd. Excellent book. Educate yourself. Once you know all there is to know about sex and love and teaching and educating your children, what are you going to learn? Nothing. You know it all. Never get there. Never get there. There's other people that have good stuff. I like Mark's analogy that he always brings out. Eat the chicken and throw away the bones. Take the good part that can help and guide you and be able to teach the children, and throw away the junk. Throw away the junk. Shaping Your Child's Sexual Identity. That's a good book too, by G.A. Rakers, Rekers. Good book. Good book for today, because we've got kids that want to change their sexual identity and have never been taught how to help them. You're a girl, here's how you act. You're a boy, here's how you act. We teach that. We don't do it. We let the system and the school system and the government tell us how to do it. It ain't going to work. How to Really Love Your Teenager by Ross Campbell. Another good one. So, once we know all there is to know about child rearing, what are we going to learn? Not going to learn anything. We know it all. Don't ever get there. Remember where they came from. you know, mom and dad. They've got your personality, your characteristic. The seeds and the genes come from them to you. And the two little seeds got together and had all the genes right there. They're going to be like you. Oh, doesn't he look just like mom? Yeah, and he acts just like mom, or she does, and vice versa. So those things are important to be able to show and teach and help. There's a lot of things to cover on that particular part. And one thing more that's real important is success. There was a coach one time named John Wooden, a very famous basketball coach. Played for UCLA Bruins for years, won a lot of championships, but his philosophy was about success, and I think it's tremendous. I've often used this. He said, success is peace of mind, which is a direct result of the self-satisfaction of knowing you did your best to become the very best, to become the best that you are capable of becoming in whatever you put your hand and mind to do. Become the best that you are capable of becoming. That's success. It's not beating somebody else. I don't have to beat somebody else. The only one I got to beat is myself. Me. Beat me. Always let myself do better. If I'm playing a basketball game and this guy scores 25 points and I score 6, but all I've been scoring is 4, I did better. I was a success. This guy just good. He's better than me. There are others that are going to be better. There are others going to be worse. But where are you going to be? You want to learn success? Learn to do it with all your might, with everything, and be able to teach that. I taught this to a lot of summer camp people and kids, and every chance I get, you know. And God told us the same thing. He told us the same thing in Ecclesiastes, in the King James. Whatever your hand find to do, do it with all your might. Do it with all your might. You know, realize those principles. I remember my uncle taught me a vital principle of that. He says, Gil, it's obvious you're not going to college. Because I barely got out of high school, but I promised my mother I would, and I did. But he says, you need to learn to work with your hands. Don't let anybody beat you. Become the best that you can become. Ride to your success on the shoulders of giants. Find out if you're going to be a baker, a plumber, or whatever. He was a butcher, and he taught me how to be a butcher. And he was good. And he says, learn from those who are the best, and you become the best because you learn from those. Why learn from somebody that doesn't really know what they're talking about? Our kids are doing that because they're talking to other kids at school, and they're learning from those that aren't telling them the truth. Find out who's the best. And he gave me lots of good advice. And you know, I'm not going to school. Learn to work with your hands and don't let anybody beat you. Become the best. I did. I worked. And whatever I put my hand to do, I tried to do it with my might. And I always was blessed for it. Always had good jobs. Never was unemployed. Always had a job. Always able to work. People used to call me up and ask me, hey, you ready to go to work for me? No, I already had a good job. Took care of that. Ride to your success on the shoulders of giants. And what greater giant than the Word of God, than what Jesus gave us in His Bible? What greater giant is there that's there to guide us and direct our children to be a success in life? Become the best that you are capable of becoming. You know, I remember an example of my daughter, one of them, I won't mention the name, one of my daughters, she was a high jumper. She was good. She did real well. Her best was 6 foot. And that's pretty good for a girl to be able to do that. But we went to a track meet, and I went there, and we were there, and she come, and I was watching her jumping, and she came back and over to me in the stands. Hey, Dad, I won. I beat everybody. I said, well, how high did you go? Well, I went 5 foot 4 inches. I says, Teresa, you lost. No, Dad, I beat everybody that was there. I says, everybody but you. And she says, you're never satisfied. I says, Teresa, every time you beat yourself and do better, I'm satisfied. And so is God. Every time we do better in our life and do a little better, he likes that too. Never be satisfied with your status quo just because you beat everybody. That's no problem for you. You're good. You could beat them all. And she did. Went to state and got first place in state 3 years in a row. She was a good high jumper. Remember Kathy Rigby? Kathy Rigby was a gymnast for the United States. Never won a gold medal. But her last year that she participated, she says, I did the best I ever did. I felt I was a success because I overcome even what I had done before. And she did. She was great. I don't know how many of you know or have heard of Tom Sullivan. Tom Sullivan was a blind man. He was blind. Wanted to play baseball. And he's in Little League, right? And the catcher would pound his fist in his glove. And the sound, he would hear the sound, and the pitcher would wind up and throw to the sound. And can you just imagine the coach on the other team as he sends up the first batter and he tells him, the pitcher's blind, can't see. And he says, I wound up to pitch that ball, and the catcher was going like that. And he says, I threw the ball as hard as I could, and I hit him right in the head. And he says, my career was over. I was done with baseball. But it doesn't mean I was done with life. He says, I took up wrestling. And he said, wrestling, I had a tremendous advantage. He says, I never saw how big and mean the other guy was. He said, I could fight, and I won. And I went to the Olympics. And he says, I beat the Russian. He says, even though I cheated a little bit because I was blind and I had a glass eye, and I took my eye out and laid it on the deal, and I mentioned in Russian I lost my eye, and the Russian looked there, and I got a hold on him and won. But he said, you can do this. Don't let handicaps or things stop you in life. Become the best that you can become in whatever you do. That's what we want to teach our children. Be the best. Don't be settled on just mediocre. A lot of people can be mediocre. Where do you want to be? How successful do you want to be? Teach your children to succeed in life. Apply those principles. The same in marriage. You want a great and wonderful marriage? Apply the principles that God teaches us. Be the best husband that you can be. Be the best wife you can be. That's success. And the kids see that, and they grow, and they develop, and they go. So realize those things. My uncle taught me, learn from the best to become the best. Christ was the best. God is the best. He gives us all the instructions, brethren. It's all right there. Read it, study it, educate yourself so that you can educate your children. You know, if extraordinary people can do impossible things, then it is in reason to assume that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. We're simple. We've got that. We can do great things. God gives us the knowledge and wisdom to do it. So realize those things. You know, there are several things as we conclude here on the 7 laws of success. There are laws that help us in success. There's laws in everything. There's laws in basketball games, ping pong, anything you want. There are rules and laws. And there's laws, the 7 rules of success. Set the right goal. Do you have a goal? Do you sit down with your kid and say, what are your goals? What are you going to do? What do you want to be? How do we get there? You know, and I don't know, I'll wait and find out later on. No. Let's think about it now. Let's help plan. What would you like to be? And let's start heading in that general direction. The more educated you are, the better the job is. Education. Educate yourself in what you want to be. Be the best. Get the best education you can get in whatever field it is. A baker, a plumber, if you're going to go to college and be an engineer, a doctor, you want the best doctor in the world if you've got some problem, right? Or you want somebody that just says, well, I'll be a doctor. No, that's not too successful. Good health. Good health, take care of your body. Take care of it. Eat, do things right. Drive. Be able to be a self-starter, saying, hey, I got the drive. I can accomplish it. I can do it. Resourcefulness, you know. You got a problem? Figure out how to get around it. God gave you a great brain and mind. Use it. You'd be surprised what you can come up with. Solve the problem. Don't get mad and all bent out of shape. Don't yell, scream, and holler at the kids because they made a mistake. Man, we made mistakes too. You know, help them with it. Just teach them and show them. And certainly contact with God and get the help, you know. And persevere, never quit. Never quit doing that part. You know, you got a goal wheel too. Set goals. I got one here for a goal wheel that I use with my kids. And, you know, pick 7 goals, you know. List 7 goals you'd like to achieve in your lifetime. Also list 1 goal you want to accomplish in 1 year. What are we going to do this year? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do? And then plus 1 financial goal, 1 recreational goal. You got to have goals, or what are you going to do? Well, your money's going to run right through your fingers. You're going to go along in life, and you won't know what you're doing or where you're going. Think of those things. They're important. They're vital. And one last one is that I like to help people with is that 10 purposes for educating your child. 10 reasons why you should do it. And they're all God's principles. He gave us every one of them. We've gone through a lot of them already. But here's number 1. Give the child knowledge on how to live. Number 1. Teach them how to live, brother. They need it. They need it desperately today. Give the child knowledge of how to earn a living. Why? You live in a money world. You're going to have to sell your life for so much. What's it worth? What's it worth? Give the child an understanding of human nature, what your nature is like, what mine's like, what we're all like. God says there's a way that seems right unto a man, but the ends are the ways of death. Why? Because human nature is there, and it wants to be satisfied, and the body is never satisfied with last week's excitement. It wants something more. All the time, it's never satisfied. So teach them how to handle that. Develop a sense of responsibility in your child. You're responsible for your action. You are. You're the one that made the decision. Here's what the penalty is. Make right decisions. Give the child the opportunity to prove himself. You know, I've always told my kids, the greatest possession you own is your trust. If you lose that trust, it's a long time to build it back. You know, if you're going to go over to, my daughter's going to go over to somebody's house and spend the day or an evening, make sure you're over to somebody's house. Don't ever lose that trust that your mom and dad have in you. Vital. Teach them that. Teach them that. Remember when you were, if you told somebody a secret and pretty soon it's blabbed all over the school, you're going to trust that person again? Trust. Great possession. Never lose it. You have it in dating. You have it in marriage. What a great principle. You can trust each other no matter what. Great. Encourage foresight, vision. Where there's no vision, my children perish. Look ahead. You got a goal. Here's your goal. What are they? Get visions. Accomplish things in life. Just don't grow up and grow old and life is gone. No, it's valuable. It's valuable. Teach relationship, responsibility toward men, women, and God. Learn the responsibility. Take care of. What difference does it make what color skin another individual has? He's still got a heart. He's still got a liver. He's still got a kidney. He's got the same thing inside that you have. The only thing is he's got a different colored skin. But people get different attitudes, different frames of mind, and so they look at things differently. Same body, same everything. They're all God's kids. Every one of them. So learn to build that. Teach the child the value of making right decisions. Boy, I tell you, that is so vital, and we've had a whole deal talking about that. And teach your child how to manage his body and to, take care of it. Don't misuse it. Well, never mind all the drugs, the marijuana, all that other junk. That isn't going to do anything for you. That isn't going to do anything for you. Teach the child to respect God, man, and creation. Everything he's given to us, respect it. Teach it, Teach every chance you get, brethren. Don't let it slip through your fingers. You only have one chance, and you got just so much time, and they're gone. They're out on their own, and we've sent them out there ill-prepared, unable to handle all of the trials and tests that can come upon them, and their lives get ruined. There's probably a lot of you there that your kids have already gotten a divorce and have gone somewhere else because of certain things that happened with them. And they're heartaches. They're heartaches. They all hurt. Train up a child in the way that it should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. A promise from God. Apply his principles, brethren, and he'll never, never let you down. Thank you for that. If you're interested in the book, I have a book that I wrote, and the address for my house, because I don't put it in the bookstores anymore. My address is 533333 Randall Avenue Southeast, Auburn, Washington, 98092. Thank you for everything.